This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. As always, I always enjoy chopping it up with all of you. So let's take some questions from our real ones and our subscribers, talking all things Eagles, because on this channel, that's what we do every single day. $5 super chat coming in from Denise Wills. What do you make of Nolan Smith on injured reserve? Does this impact Zadarius Smith? Jacorian Bennett not impressing Vic Fangio. Sidney Brown still not playing with more control. All right, so obviously a lot to get to there with Denise's questions. For Nolan Smith, this sucks for the Eagles. He's a blossoming young player who had that massive leap from year one in 2023 to year two in 2024. He went from 1 sack to 6.5 sacks in the playoffs. He had 4 sacks. It led all players in the postseason. He plays with such great twitch, bend, and explosiveness at the snap, but he's also one of the best, and I think most underrated, edge setters against the run in the NFL. And he plays with so much violence. Now, in case you missed it, the news is he tweaked the triceps that he tore in the Super Bowl. I always thought, man, it's pretty impressive that he came back so soon because he was ready for the start of training camp. The good news is it doesn't require surgery. The bad news is he's now been injured a lot. At Georgia, he was banged up. After his rookie year, got a shoulder surgery. Second year, triceps. Third year, triceps again. And he's one of the leaders of this Eagles team. He's a heartbeat of this Eagles team. He's extension eligible after this year. I imagine Howie's like, man, it's pretty risky to financially commit to a player who's been injured a lot, but he's such an intriguing young player. And he's still young. And hopefully this is more so bad luck than him being injury prone, but this impacts severely the Eagles defense, no doubt about it. As for Zadarius Smith, he's going to get more snaps without Nolan Smith playing. Jalix Hunt will have a bigger role. Obu Okoronkwo, Azeez Ojulari, they've been healthy scratches to start the year. I imagine they're going to be active on Sunday against Tampa Bay. A player like Patrick Johnson might be active as well. He was not active against the Rams. And so you're going to rely on those other players to really step up, play better. Jalen Carter, the effort against the Rams was kind of up and down, as he always does. Made some game-changing plays late, had the blocked field goal. Maybe it's because he's not in shape, but he's going to need to bring it. Jordan Davis has been playing like an all-pro. Hopefully that continues. Because when you lose a player like that, everybody else collectively has to step up. Jacorian Bennett not impressing Vic Fangio. Hard to tell. It stinks for Jacorian too. I like his ability. I like the player. 4.3 speed with the Raiders. Really good ball production. But he's been hurt his first 3 years in the NFL. He did level the holder, which made Jordan Davis able to pick up the football and return that field goal block for a touchdown. That was just a team game-winning, game-changing play that he made. I imagine he may have gotten hurt on that play, but I just think that Vic has sided with the veteran in Adoree Jackson. And then for Sidney Brown, I just think Andrew McCoob is the better player. More versatile, always around the ball, better instincts, better feel, whereas Sidney Brown sometimes lacks that feel, which is why sometimes he's overly aggressive and can miss tackles. He missed some more against the Rams. But as a special teamer, I love him because he will run through a cement wall. Devon Lewis, hopefully I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I apologize, my man. $5 super chat. Do you think getting Trey Hendrickson would make sense? The Bengals season is done, and they already paid him, right? So this is really fascinating here. If Nolan Smith was out for the year, I think this move would make sense. But the Eagles are hoping to get him back around the Week 9 bye. But we know that Howie Roseman is always looking for stars. He's always looking to go star hunting. And he's always looking to improve the pass rush. And this offseason, according to Jay Glazer, he made the biggest, best, and highest offer to the Dallas Cowboys for Micah Parsons. That tells me he'd be interested in a player like this. And Hendrickson's situation with Cincinnati is notable here. And it's interesting. He wanted a contract extension going into the final year of his deal when he had no guaranteed money left. he wanted to stay with Cincinnati long term. But the Bengals are a joke of an organization, and they are a very cheap organization. They paid Joe Burrow, they paid T. Higgins, they paid Jamar Chase. All they did with Hendrickson to get him on the field was up his salary for 2025 and guarantee it. They didn't give him a long-term deal. So clearly, he is not in their plans. He could also be a trade candidate going into the NFL trade deadline because Joe Burrow is out until December. He's injured again. Can we consider Burrow, by the way, as a top 5 guy if he's always hurt? I think he's outside of that window right now. Special player when healthy, but he's out with turf toe surgery until December. Jake Browning is cheeks. He stinks. The Bengals are not going to be contending for a playoff spot by the time that Burrow comes back, even by the time of the deadline. So do the Bengals look to get some value back for a player who I don't think is going to be on the team next year instead of losing him in free agency for nothing? Hendrickson's a dog, and he would be a good scheme fit. He would be a great veteran leader. You could give him a contract extension if you wanted him to be a part of your long-term plans. Last 2 years, 2023, 2024, no player has more sacks across the NFL. 17 and a half the last 2 years. And to start this year, he's been tremendous. So I don't think right now, but I think as we get closer to the deadline, depending on where the Eagles are, health-wise, record-wise, playing-wise, as far as what needs they might have, Hendrickson becomes very, very interesting. The Thunder Hounds. Do you think there's even a bigger chance now that we try to trade for Denzel Ward? So my same reasoning for why the Eagles could target a player like Hendrickson does kind of apply for Denzel Ward too, right? If the Browns continue to lose, like the Bengals continue to lose, do those teams sell at the deadline? Do those teams look to get draft capital back to help them with cost-controlled assets rebuild a little bit? But also on that same token of what I said with Hendrickson, see how Keely Ringo plays this week. See how Mac McWilliams fares. Do you get anything from Perry Nickerson? Do you try to see how those players perform and try to be cap sufficient instead of making a move for a player like Ward, who's obviously expensive? See how you perform where you're at going into the deadline. And over the next several weeks, keep tabs on how the team is performing. And whatever weaknesses you might have, think about that going into the deadline, and then maybe then you make a move. And obviously, it depends on what the teams want and are doing and how they're performing. I mean, if the Browns and Bengals are good, then they're not going to trade away some of their top players. If they are bad, they become sellers. Dexter knows best. Where do you think CJ Gardner-Johnson will go? I've seen rumors of Dallas, but he would want to go to a contender, maybe a team like the Bills. If he goes to a team in the NFC East, that would be interesting. And obviously, he would be very fired up to play the Philadelphia Eagles because he is a player who plays with a lot of emotion. He's a very spirited guy. And sometimes that can make him be great. Sometimes that can be a downfall. Him speaking his mind, being honest, being emotional, and keeping it a buck. Probably why he's been on 5 teams in 7 years. It can be a positive. It can be a negative. But teams that make sense to me, a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, although they're getting some reinforcements back in that secondary, Mike Tomlin, I think, would be able to deal with a player like this. He's very good at handling those types of personalities. A team like Washington makes a lot of sense. It checks off a box that you mentioned, them being a contender, and they have some needs at the safety spot. Their defenses have underperformed. A team like Dallas wouldn't surprise me. Jerry Jones will take chances on players who have some question marks with their character, and their defense has been horrendous the last 2 weeks. A team like the Bills, I think they need to get better on defense. I'm trying to think of some other teams. I think those teams make some sense, the teams that I mentioned, and the team that you mentioned in Buffalo. LFX, Lion Fighter, do we have a Will Shipley update? Do you see the Eagles legitimately using Tank Bigsby? Well, LFX, you asked this question going into week 3, and I had said maybe you use him on kick returns. The Eagles did. He was bad. Joshua Carty was hitting those line drive knuckleballs. The Eagles couldn't return a kick. They couldn't field a kick. And so Bigsby may have blown his opportunity there because the Eagles added a returner this week, but we don't really have a Will Shipley update. He's dealing with an oblique/rib injury. The Eagles did not put him on IR, but he hasn't played since week 1. Kind of weird that they didn't put him on IR because I imagine he's going to miss his 3rd straight game. So maybe Bigsby gets some carries, but the Eagles really like A.J. Dillon. They can trust him as a pass protector. He's had some really good reps there. And then obviously Saquon getting a bulk share of the carries. Gene Holcomb, Chase, do you think the Bucs re-sign Desmond Watson after releasing him because they're facing the Eagles? Yes. And I said this to Chip. I talked about it on the show for our Eagles-Buccaneers preview. In case you don't know Desmond Watson, look him up. And when you do, he's going to take up a lot of the screen. He played his college football at Florida. He's a nose tackle, defensive tackle who is 464 pounds. And in camp, following his final season at Florida, he lost weight and got down to 430. The Buccaneers this week brought him back to the practice squad. I would not be surprised if Todd Bowles elevates him to the game day roster on Sunday. And here's why. The Buccaneers have been one of the only teams in the NFL that can actually stop the tush push. They've done it in 2024, 2023, and when they don't stop it, they hold up well against it. That's what happens when you have a guy like Vita Vea. But I imagine Todd Bowles is like, game planning. What if we had Vita Vea and Desmond Watson at defensive tackle? Funny enough, going into the draft, I had said, is a team going to draft Desmond Watson or pick him up as a UDFA just to stop the tush push? I think that is definitely a part of the Buccaneers' plans here. Now, maybe he's not ready and active to play on Sunday, but I think that's at least in their thinking. Gene Holcomb, good point. You know ball. All right, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're giving you so much great content here on Eagles Now, and it's always great to chop it up with all of you. Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you soon here on Eagles Now.